The room was already tense before Barack Obama finished his first sentence. Under the bright studio lights, two former presidents sat across from each other, while millions of viewers watched a fictional televised confrontation that had been promoted for weeks as one of the biggest political showdowns imaginable. Donald Trump entered the stage with the confidence of someone who believed he already knew exactly how the night would unfold. He walked toward his chair with his familiar swagger, glanced across the audience, adjusted his jacket, and sat down as if the entire stage belonged to him. Obama entered differently. He didn't rush. He didn't look around searching for applause. He simply walked to his seat, nodded toward the audience, and waited. The moderator welcomed both men and explained that each would receive uninterrupted time to discuss leadership, the economy, public trust, and the future of the country. Trump immediately smiled when he heard the words uninterrupted time, because he clearly believed he could use the opening to establish control. Obama was given the first major statement, and he began speaking in a measured voice about the responsibility that comes with public office, explaining that leadership was not simply about winning elections, making promises, or dominating television coverage. He said that a president had to understand that every decision affected people who would never appear on a stage like this, people working two jobs, parents worrying about bills, families trying to afford housing, young people wondering whether they would have opportunities, and older Americans hoping the institutions they depended on would remain stable. For the first few seconds, Trump listened. Then he shifted in his chair. Obama continued. He talked about disagreement, saying that a democracy could survive strong disagreements, but it could not survive if every disagreement became a personal war. Trump leaned toward his microphone. The moderator noticed and raised a hand, reminding him that Obama still had the floor. Trump nodded, but only for a moment. Obama continued explaining that the strength of a leader was not measured by how often that leader interrupted an opponent, but by whether that leader could listen long enough to understand what the opponent was actually saying. That sentence immediately changed Trump's expression. He smiled, shook his head, and muttered something under his breath. Obama kept going. He said that America did not need leaders who treated every criticism as an attack and every question as an insult. It needed leaders capable of answering difficult questions without turning every conversation into a spectacle. Trump suddenly leaned into his microphone. "That's enough," he said loudly. The moderator immediately reminded him that Obama had not finished. Trump waved his hand dismissively. "He's giving a speech," Trump said. "People don't want another speech. They want results." A few members of the audience laughed. Others remained silent. Obama stopped for a second and looked toward Trump, but instead of arguing, he simply waited. The moderator again asked Trump to allow Obama to finish. Trump leaned back, smiling. Obama resumed. He said that results mattered, but so did the way those results were achieved, and that was when Trump interrupted again. "No, no, no," he said. "You're talking about process because you don't have results." The audience reacted immediately. Some applauded, others groaned. Obama remained completely still. He waited until the noise faded and then continued as if nothing had happened. "This is exactly the problem," Obama said. "If every disagreement becomes an interruption, then eventually nobody is listening anymore." Trump shook his head. "Because you're wrong," he said. "You're wrong on almost everything." Obama smiled slightly and continued. The moderator appeared increasingly uncomfortable, but Obama seemed determined not to take the bait. He explained that a political argument should not be a contest to see who could speak the loudest. It should be an opportunity for citizens to compare ideas. Trump interrupted again. "People already know my ideas." Obama paused. "Then you shouldn't be afraid of hearing mine." The room erupted. It was not a huge reaction, but it was enough to signal that the audience had noticed the exchange. Trump leaned forward. "Afraid? Nobody is afraid of you." Obama simply nodded. "Good," he said. "Then let me finish." Trump laughed. But Obama continued. He began discussing leadership and said that presidents had to accept responsibility when their decisions produced unintended consequences. Before he could finish the next sentence, Trump interrupted again. "You're blaming me for things that happened years ago." Obama looked at him and calmly said, "I'm not blaming you. I'm asking you to listen." Trump immediately responded, "I've listened enough." Obama nodded again. "That's exactly what I'm talking about." The room became noticeably quieter. Trump appeared irritated by the fact that Obama was refusing to become angry. The more Trump interrupted, the calmer Obama became. The more Trump raised his voice, the more Obama slowed his delivery. It was becoming a visual contrast that required no explanation. Trump was trying to seize control of the debate by force of personality, while Obama was refusing to surrender control of himself. The moderator moved to the next topic, asking about political polarization and whether leaders had a responsibility to reduce tensions. Obama answered that political leaders could disagree fiercely while still recognizing that their opponents were citizens, not enemies. Trump interrupted almost immediately. "That's a nice line," he said, "but that's not how the real world works." Obama stopped. He looked toward Trump and said, "Then perhaps the real world needs better leadership." The audience reacted loudly. Trump smiled sarcastically. "There he goes again," he said. "Another perfect sentence." Obama replied, "You keep interrupting because you're worried about the next sentence." Trump laughed. "Worried? I'm waiting for something important." Obama looked directly at him. "Then listen." That was the first moment when the room truly changed. It was only one word, but it landed because Trump had been interrupting nearly every major point Obama attempted to make. The moderator asked everyone to remain respectful. Obama continued speaking about public trust. He said that people did not expect leaders to be perfect, but they did expect honesty about mistakes. Trump interrupted again. "Nobody has been more honest than me." Obama looked toward him. "Then answering questions should be easy." Trump shook his head. "You ask loaded questions." Obama answered, "A difficult question is not a loaded question simply because you dislike the answer." The audience reacted again. Trump leaned closer to the microphone. "You're trying to make me look bad," Obama replied. "I'm not making you look anything. You're doing that yourself every time you interrupt instead of answering." The moderator immediately called for order. Trump sat back, visibly frustrated. The cameras stayed focused on the two men. Obama returned to his speech. He explained that leadership required patience because decisions made in anger often created problems that later generations had to solve. Trump interrupted again, this time more forcefully. "You had your chance. You had 8 years. What did you accomplish?" Obama waited. "That's a fair question," he said, "and you should be allowed to ask it." Trump looked surprised by the response. Obama continued, "But if you're going to ask me about my record, you should also be willing to discuss yours." Trump smiled. "I have plenty to discuss," Obama nodded. "Then we'll discuss it." The moderator moved forward, asking both candidates to explain what they believed real strength meant. Trump immediately launched into a passionate answer. He talked about winning, negotiation, business, toughness, and refusing to back down. He argued that leaders had to project confidence and that America needed someone who would never apologize for being strong. The audience responded with a mixture of applause and silence. Trump grew more animated as he spoke. He pointed toward Obama and said that calm speeches were not enough. "You can sit there with that smile all night," Trump said, "but people need someone who fights." Obama waited until Trump finished. Then he asked, "Do you think fighting is the same thing as leading?" Trump immediately interrupted. "Absolutely." Obama nodded. "That's where we disagree." Trump cut him off again. "No, that's where you're weak." Obama didn't react. "Perhaps," he said, "but if strength requires you to interrupt someone because you can't tolerate hearing them, then what exactly are you protecting?" Trump stared at him. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he laughed and tried to change the subject. But Obama had already established the question, "What exactly are you protecting?" Trump returned to his familiar arguments about toughness. Obama listened. Trump interrupted Obama again. Obama waited. Trump interrupted again. Obama waited again. Each time, the audience became more aware of the pattern. The debate was no longer simply about policy. It was becoming a demonstration of temperament. Trump appeared increasingly determined to prevent Obama from completing a thought, while Obama seemed increasingly determined to let Trump reveal his own behavior without directly attacking him. Eventually, Obama began a longer statement about the importance of institutions. He explained that presidents come and go, but institutions must survive them. He said that courts, legislatures, journalists, civil servants, and voters all play roles in maintaining a democracy. Trump interrupted. "The media are corrupt." Obama waited. Trump continued. "The system is rigged." Obama waited. Trump said, "Nobody knows that better than me." Finally, Obama raised his hand slightly, not aggressively, just enough to signal that he wanted to respond. The moderator gave him the floor. Obama looked at Trump and said, "If every institution is corrupt whenever it disagrees with you, eventually the only institution you trust is yourself." The audience fell silent. Trump opened his mouth, then closed it. Obama continued before Trump could interrupt. "And that isn't strength. That's isolation." Trump immediately tried to respond. "That's ridiculous." Obama nodded. Then prove it, Trump asked. Prove what? Obama replied. Prove that disagreement is not the same thing as betrayal. Trump leaned back. The moderator moved to another subject. But the central theme remained. Trump continued interrupting. Obama continued answering. The audience continued watching. Then came the moment that would define the fictional debate. Obama was discussing the responsibility of leaders to accept criticism when Trump interrupted yet again. This time, Trump didn't simply challenge the point. He mocked Obama's calm tone. You always do this, Trump said. You sit there smiling, you speak slowly, and you act like you're above everyone. That's not leadership, that's a performance. Obama stopped speaking. He looked directly at Trump. Trump continued. People don't need someone acting superior. They need someone who fights for them. Obama waited until Trump finished. Then he said one calm sentence. If you have to interrupt me to make yourself sound stronger, you've already answered the question about who is afraid. The studio went completely silent. Trump stared at him. The moderator didn't speak. The audience didn't react immediately because the sentence was so simple that everyone seemed to understand it at the same time. Trump had been trying to portray Obama as weak because Obama remained calm. But Obama had turned the interruption itself into evidence against Trump's argument. Trump leaned toward the microphone. I'm not afraid of you. Obama nodded. Then let me finish. The audience erupted. Trump shook his head, visibly frustrated, but this time he stayed quiet for several seconds. Obama resumed his speech. He talked about how leaders should respond when criticized. He said that a leader who constantly interrupts may win individual moments but eventually loses the ability to hear information that could prevent mistakes. Trump looked toward the moderator, then toward the audience. He appeared to be deciding whether to interrupt again. Obama noticed. He paused briefly, almost inviting him to do it. Trump stayed silent. Obama continued. The contrast was now unmistakable. Trump had spent much of the debate trying to control the room, but one calm sentence had changed the rhythm. The moderator moved to questions from the audience. A young man asked how either leader would handle a country divided into hostile political camps. Obama answered first. He said the solution was not to pretend disagreements didn't exist, but to create enough space for people to disagree without treating each other as enemies. Trump immediately interrupted. That's impossible. Obama turned toward him. Trump added, people have to choose a side. Obama replied, citizens can choose a side without choosing hatred. Trump shook his head. That's naive. Obama smiled. Maybe, but I would rather be accused of being naive for believing people can disagree than cynical for assuming they can't. The audience applauded. Trump began speaking over the applause, trying to regain momentum. Obama waited. The moderator asked Trump to hold his response. Trump finally stopped. Then he attacked Obama's record again. Obama answered. Trump interrupted. Obama paused. Trump interrupted again. Obama looked at him and said, you don't have to agree with me, you just have to let me finish. Trump replied, I don't have to do anything. Obama nodded. That's true, but neither does the audience. That line drew another strong reaction. The audience was beginning to understand the deeper point. Trump could interrupt Obama, but he couldn't force viewers to agree with him. He could raise his voice, but he couldn't control what people thought about the contrast. He could attack Obama's character, but he couldn't prevent Obama from remaining calm. The moderator asked both men for closing statements. Trump immediately insisted on going first. He delivered an aggressive speech about strength, winning, economic growth, national pride, and his belief that Americans needed a fighter. He attacked Obama repeatedly, saying that Obama represented the old political establishment and that calm speeches had never solved real problems. Trump received loud applause from part of the audience. He looked satisfied. Then it was Obama's turn. Obama stood slowly and walked toward the center of the stage. He thanked the audience and began by saying that America had always been a country of disagreements. Trump remained seated but watched closely. Obama said that disagreement was not the enemy. Fear was. Fear of criticism, fear of losing, fear of admitting mistakes, fear of allowing another person to finish a sentence because their argument might be stronger than yours. Trump shifted in his chair. Obama continued. He said that political leadership should not be about proving who could dominate a room. It should be about proving who could carry responsibility after the room emptied. Trump suddenly interrupted again. There you go, another speech. The audience reacted. Obama stopped. He looked at Trump. Then he smiled slightly. And you just proved my point. Trump shook his head. No, I didn't, Obama replied. You interrupted before you heard the point. The audience laughed and applauded. Trump attempted to respond, but Obama calmly continued. You don't have to like what I say. You don't have to agree with it. You don't even have to vote for me. But if you are asking people to trust you with enormous power, you should be able to sit quietly long enough to hear a sentence you dislike. Claude. The room became silent again. Obama looked toward the audience rather than Trump. That's not weakness, he said. That's self-control. Trump stared forward. Obama continued his closing statement, saying that America didn't need leaders who never made mistakes because such leaders did not exist. It needed leaders who could admit mistakes, hear criticism, change course when necessary, and understand that public office was not personal property. He said that every president eventually leaves the stage. Every campaign ends. Every television broadcast goes dark. Every political slogan fades. But the consequences of leadership remain with ordinary people long after the applause disappears. Trump looked increasingly serious. Obama finished by saying that the real test of leadership was what a person did when nobody was applauding, when nobody was watching, and when the easiest response was anger. Then he returned to the sentence that had changed the debate. If you need to interrupt someone to prove you're stronger than them, Obama said, you may want to ask yourself why their words scare you so much. The audience erupted. Trump immediately stood and began speaking, but the moderator stepped between the microphones and asked him to let the closing statement stand. Trump looked furious. He pointed toward Obama and said that the former president had done nothing but talk. Obama didn't respond. He simply nodded toward the audience. The moderator thanked both men. Trump remained standing for several seconds, looking around the room as if searching for a way to regain the moment. But the moment had already moved. The audience had seen the entire exchange. They had watched Trump interrupt again and again. They had watched Obama refuse to become angry. They had watched one sentence turn Trump's strategy back on him. And that was why the final image became so powerful in the fictional broadcast. Trump had entered the stage believing that dominance meant speaking louder, interrupting faster, and attacking harder. Obama had demonstrated a completely different kind of dominance, the ability to remain composed while someone else was trying to provoke you. The cameras slowly pulled back. Trump was still talking with the moderator, visibly frustrated. Obama stood quietly at the opposite side of the stage. No celebration, no mocking gesture, no dramatic victory pose, just a calm expression. The narrator's voice came in over the final images, explaining that the most devastating moments in a debate are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes the line that changes everything is the one delivered without anger. Trump had tried to interrupt Obama's speech because he believed interruption would make him look stronger. Instead, it created the perfect opening for Obama to expose the weakness behind the performance. One interruption became two. Two became several, and eventually the pattern became the story. The fictional audience didn't need a commentator to explain what they had witnessed. They could see it. One man was trying desperately to control the conversation. The other was simply refusing to lose control of himself. And in the end, that difference became the entire debate. The stage lights dimmed. The audience slowly began leaving their seats. The moderator looked toward the cameras and delivered the final line of the broadcast. Tonight, the loudest voice wasn't necessarily the strongest one. The screen faded to black. Then a final sentence appeared. Sometimes calm is the sharpest comeback, and that was the moment viewers would remember. Not a shout, not an insult, not a dramatic accusation, but one calm sentence that turned an interruption into a lesson about confidence, self-control, and leadership.